But Dick Gregory,
Yes.
how are you feeling to coming to London this weekend? How are you feeling right now?
About coming to London?
That's right.
I always feel good about coming to London because you can't understand America till you understand London. That's why we still call them the mother country. All right, let me tell you this story. My oldest daughter,
Yeah.
she said, I told her, I said, look, you need to go to the London School of Economics. And so she said, where's that? And I said, oh, I guess you won't be able to get in. It's in London, stupid. So 2 weeks later, letter come to the house, she's accepted. So I said, now, the reason I didn't want you to go to Harvard or Yale or Morehouse or Howard, she said, well, why you want me to go to London School of Economics? I said, that's the school that taught Harvard and Yale how to be dirty.
Had to be
They learned it from them.
Had to be dirty.
So you go to where the masters are. The CIA is still trying to catch up with some of MI6's tactics. They still haven't been able to do it.
We're here to reason about Dick Gregory. I'm inside the house again. We have Duamu Tef, we have Ras Minty, also we have Brother Curtis, and also we have jammers inside the house.
Thanks for everybody here. Privileged to be here as well. And remember the great legend. Basically, if you look at the word, a coin, we never even taken it off from that, but the coin usually has ER on it representing the Queen, which stands for Elizabeth Regina. Yeah, and Regina's Latin relates to a royalty, and if you reverse the word Regina, you'll see a niger. So basically, the Queen, it shows basically that when they get wealth, they base it on us. Anything that they get that's important, they have to import it. Anything that they get that possess, it relates to ownership, and they've had to ship it over to their land. So basically, the word really is the key to who we are, and they hid that in the actual language. So they give you the word with their stress attached to it, and you become stressed out by the very word that's stretching them out, that's stressing them out, because they're not calling you a cat, a dog, or mouse. They're saying this word niger. So there's something about that word itself that they are traumatized by. So these people are skilled at making you traumatized by your own self, by giving you your own names and reversing them. And if you give a dog a bad name, it becomes a bad dog. If you give a dog a bad name, but if you give a dog a good name and make it think it's a bad name, it'll throw away its good name and take on another name. So that's the basic of the word niger. On that, and another thing is also linking where they are, because there's no such thing as an English language. English comes from the word ang, which comes from the word West German. Most of the Germans' second name is Arnold Schwarzenegger. Schwarz is black, nigger is nigger. So that's all I was saying. So basically, and that origination of that was a farmer. Came from the farmer, and farmer is the first person who comes on the land is able to cultivate the land. So basically, it's just showing that any name they have attaches to another race. They have no form of identity whatsoever. They call themselves Caucasian, Asian. They call themselves Indo-European, European, Phoenician. So that so-called English person has no form of identity. They have to use another name to achieve power. And the thing about Dick Gregory, which really I'm inspired by, is his humor. He was able to look at certain words that everybody was running away from the time and used usually that word to title his book. You know, he used that word, and he was able to use the humor or the language that's been given to us against the oppressor who gave him the language in the first place. Thank you.
Yeah, just to reiterate what Jammer said, that the word, just to talk about the word nigger and how important it is to them. We've been taught to hate this word, and the word has a lot of power, NGR, and if you turn the words NGR, you switch the R and the G, it's NRG. That means we have the energy, man, that the root of life starts within us, and this is what they're trying to get us away from. They've always tried to do that. do the same thing in religion. They try to make us look outside of ourselves when we should be looking within, and that's the key. And even if you have a symbol of an individual, that's okay, but you have to look within yourself, and that's what they're trying to move us away from. Who we are, our true power base, our true reality, and what we can achieve for the future, which is the real deal. They want us to remain as consumers. They want us to remain their slaves and their lackeys. They don't want us to know our true power, the true energy we have. So just to reiterate what Jam has said, before I bring Curtis in, Curtis will do a Tef. The word Regina is what the Queen calls herself, and that backwards is a nigger, just to be clear, so there's no confusion. They use it in a very tricky way. They're very deceitful, these people. So we've just got to be aware, listen to people like Jammers Duamu Tef, listen to the way these brothers speak and hear what they're saying. They're breaking down words, they're breaking down ideas. We have to have a clearer understanding of who we are as African people, and this is what, you know, hopefully this is certainly represented in the life of Dick Gregory, and hopefully certainly with these brothers in here who've got bright minds, man, we can break down things and just, you know, open up things for you. Go on, Jammers.
Just to retouch on that and emphasize that as well, they reverse the word. So even if you look at the word origin, if you look at the word Negro and turn it and read it from left to right, the original you read the word and listen to the sound, you get O, Re, E, Jin. So Negro backwards is origin. So they tell you, the master deceiver is going to tell you to your face exactly who you are, but they've trained you not to hear or see the sounds in the letters. That's why you let things happen to you. That's why it's called letters. And that's why when you write down, what are you writing? You write in lines. No, not lines, lines. Thank you.
Break it down, my brother. Yeah? And it's when you hear Brother Minty or Ras Minty explaining to you that these people are tricky, the very language that we're speaking, it's a tricky language. Yeah, it's a English. In fact, is not a language; it's a dialect. Let's get that straight first. Yeah, what we're speaking now is a dialect. Okay, and this dialect that we're speaking is a combination of Caucasian Canaanite languages. What do we mean when we say this, Duamu Tef? Okay, a combination. When you look at the so-called English dialect, which is something that hit me when I went to university, because when I went to university, I was doing ICT, what they call Information Communication Technology, and Spanish originally, but I then realised 3 weeks into doing Spanish that I didn't know how to speak English properly, so I quickly switched and decided, you know what, let me really find out about this language here that I was born into, you know what I mean, because it's not really my original tongue. And that's where we came across for the first time, or we was aware of beforehand, but in depth, etymology. And now, as I says, when you study and you examine what's called the English language, which is really the English dialect, it's made up of French. Yeah, look at your passport. If you look at the front of your passport, yeah, or you walk into any courthouse or any government building, and you look at the UK coat of arms, yeah, it says on it Dieu est mon droit. Yeah, that is not English. You should ask yourself, what is French Dieu est mon droit doing on the UK crown? Yeah, and any Caucasian who knows a little of their history will tell you, oh, it goes back to the Normans. So that's when the French was running the monarchy. Yeah, the Germans are running the UK monarchy now, but that's when the French invaded with the Normans. All right, you look at the English dialect, you see Scandinavian words. Yeah, words coming from Sweden, words coming from Norway, words coming from Finland, words coming from Sweden. This is Scandinavia. This is what they call Norse or Old Norse, which was the language of the Vikings. Did the Vikings invade this ours? Yes, they did. They invaded before the Normans. Okay? So, and when you also look at this dialect, you'll see German words. In fact, many people do not realize how close this dialect is to German. Yeah, and you'll see glaring similarities in the German dialect and also within the English dialect. You want to say, Minty?
Let me just say quickly, King, that when I was in school, I was good at languages, so they told me. So they put me in the German class, and you're absolutely right, bro. when you say this is what they call Germanic English, when you ask what is your name, you go, what is ein Name? And then when you respond, you go, mein Name ist. So you're absolutely right, Bridget. I'm just adding on to what you're saying.
People would be amazed if they studied German, because my mum was good at German. When you study German and you study English, as Minty's saying, yeah, it's very similar because you're Anglo-Saxon. Saxony is in Germany, it's East Germany. Okay, the other day I went away on a weekend break and I was up by Old Windsor where they have ruddy meat, they have a border, and I was explaining it to my missus, alright? And I was explaining the makeup of what they call England, alright? And they tell you that Germany and England are enemies. No, they're not. They're family. Yeah? It's family. That's why the monarchy of the English is German. But the German are seen as being more sophisticated or having more aristocratic qualities than the English are like the peasants of Europe, yeah? The Germans are seen as being the aristocrats coming through the Greeks. So when you're actually saying what you're saying, you're speaking a dialect that is made up of French, English, Norse, also as well Asian words, yeah, Sanskrit words, yeah. Henceforth, why the English dialect is a part of in linguistic, or what they call language science, is a part of what they call Indo-European languages or Indian languages spoken by Europeans. You wanted to say, Jammers?
Even just to bounce off what you said, listen to the sound. English. Lish means a type of something. So Scottish means a type of Scot. Danish means a type of Dane. English means a type of ing. Now the ing and the a are interchangeable sounds. So English means a type of ang. Ang comes from the land of Angles, Germany. You change the land of Angles, the E and the A is interchangeable, became England. That's why they've got Angola. Still points back to Germany in the sound. The Anglican still. So they're telling you by the language that they're not natives of this place, Brittany. They are telling you they're a type of German.
And just to bounce off what Jammers and what Minty's saying, when you're saying German, yeah, it means the man with the germs. Yeah? When you're saying germ, think about this, yeah? Man of germs or the man with the germs. That goes around and infects the whole world and infects the indigenous original people of the world and their lands. For some of us, that's too hard to take because we have decided to marry the germ. So the germ man has become a part of our family, the germs man. So think about it. You ought to say, Jammers.
Just to bounce, the word just look at the word German as a verb. The word German as a verb means to interbreed. This is what the royal family do. This is why a lot of them went off their head, because when you interbreed with your own species and you keep it in the family, the royal family. Actually, if you look at the word royals backwards, you see the word slayer. If you look at the word royal backwards again, you see the word layer. So if you interbreed, which German means, this is what causes your mentality, your psyche to go mad. Like even I saw today someone was saying that they broke up with their woman, but they can't get access to the dog. And I thought that there was going to be a joke, but actually the advisor actually told them to make some kind of arrangement so they'll be able to see. So this is a type of mentality when you call yourself English. And funny enough, angle, the root word of angle means to be crooked or bent.
So when you actually look at the word in the scriptures, it is explained to us, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. Yeah, that's what is explained. The Rasta man used to teach us, word is sound and sound is power. So how we communicate is very, very, very important, and the powers that be, they're fully aware of this and they know this. Yeah, and the deceiver will deceive you in front of your face. Yeah, somebody who's an expert, who's really good at it. Yeah, like when you watch Ocean 8 or Ocean 9 and you watch any of them programs with the con man or the fool, they're pulling the scam right in front of you. You know what I'm saying to you? Yeah, and that's what these people do. Yeah, some people listening to this at this here present time may feel, oh, what are they talking about in the studio? Yet, have you ever looked at words from an etymological level like Ras Minty has, or like Jammers has, or like Duamu Tef has? Because if you was to buy an etymological dictionary, every African Caribbean household who's listening to this program should go out and buy an etymological dictionary. ETYMOLOGICAL. Etymology gives you the root and the origin of the words or the language that we speak at this here present time. If you was to get an etymological dictionary, you'd see there's a big, massive difference between an etymological dictionary and also as well an ordinary Collins dictionary or Oxford dictionary. A massive difference. And the reason why English is so tricky, because they've made it in such a way that one word can have many different meanings. It doesn't have to mean the same thing. Words are pronounced but not spelt how they pronounce, because certain words, like if you spell photo to a child, they'll say F, yeah, but we're told it's PH and it's a silent P. The arch deceiver, it's P, he's making you know, yeah, it's not an F, it's a PH. It's an F. The children are right. It's an F. Yeah. Photo. It should be spelt with an F. Yeah. But he told you, nah, we go back to classical Greek and we spell it with PH. Yeah. So we get photo or we get pharmacy. But it's not spelt how it sounds. That is deception. That is deceiving. Yeah. You can say, oh no, that's just how the English. Is it really? Is that just how it really actually is? Or did somebody tell you who originated, who authored the language? Because let's be honest, they don't see people as colour. Even though you might be listening to this program, you wouldn't look at Jammers as an author of English, even though he's written a book on etymology. You wouldn't look at Minty or Duamu Tef as authors on the English language, even though we studied etymology, because the Caucasian or the European has made it his duty to make sure that he is the authority, he is the author that you all respect at this here present time. Yet, for you to get to that level of intellect, what we're trying to share with you on the radio, just simply go out tomorrow, W.H. Smith or any bookstore, and buy an etymological dictionary, and you'll see what we're saying for yourself when you start to look at the origin of words. I was tied up in an etymological dictionary for like 2.5 years. Yeah, it was so interesting. You know what I'm saying to you? What say, James?
Okay, let me just right there. James, you want to jump in there, James? Curtis, you want to come and say something?
No, I'm just concurring with a lot of with our brothers in the studio saying that we have to look at a bigger picture than just say, oh, this is the case, when it's obviously not the case, you know.
Okay then. What I'm gonna do now, I want to up the live link. I want to play a bit more recording of
Can I just mention about the dictionary, the etymology dictionary?
Yeah, go.
Yeah, just to endorse that, you know, if you want to buy black, yeah, so if you want an etymological dictionary written by someone of your own kind, you can get the etymological dictionary. Just text either from your name and Ras Minty to this number, or find your voice to this number 07497 069702. Once again, that's 07497 069702, and the book is called Etymology, the Roots of Words, where we actually break down etymology, the roots of words. And what happens with this one, if you go to the dictionary or most books on etymology, they wipe Africa right out of the equation. They just link the language back to Indo-European or Sanskrit. So if you want to get a proper book on etymology, just text this number 07497 069702. And just to endorse what was said about the tricky language, you look at the language Germany, French, they've all got a Latin root to them. So this is the mistake most people make when they're studying etymology. They look at Latin as the authority, but they don't analyze the root word of Latin. The root word of Latin is tin, which means to hide things, because tin backwards is nit, which is light, and Latin, the lay relates to lethargy. So basically, Latin means to hide and deceive. This language is a man-made, crafted language. So basically, when you go to the Latin, it's an admission that this language has been crafted, man-made to lie and conceal. Then when you go back to the Indo-European, as we said earlier, Indo-European links it back to Europa, which is Phoenician, and then it also links it back to the origin of language comes from Proto-Indo-European. This is where they say language originates from. Proto-Indo-European. Proto means proto means origin, you know. So basically, Proto-Synthiatic. All languages goes back to Proto-Synthiatic. Proto means origin. Synthiatic is Sinai, Egypt. So all the languages have been taken from Africa. They've reversed it, used a process called strict false symbolis on the language, so we do not recognize it. This is our own language. So they've actually hijacked your language, hijacked your identity. They're the biggest lies on the planet because they're not European, because European goes back to the Phoenicians. And as the brother was saying, we created sound, phonics. That's why every dictionary has phonetic sound with it, which goes back to Carthaginians. It's not actually Phoenicians, the Carthaginians, because Phoenician is the skill of applying sound to the language and the symbols, just like an electrician is a master electrician. The Carthaginians from North Africa were the masters of applying symbols to the sound, called phonetics. And this is why they call us today the foes, because they saw the sound as the enemy, the creators of sound as the enemy to them. So that's why they call you a foe. And if you look at the word foreign, it really means where the foe reigns. So, and it's a trick that they've done on this language system, that we need to now master the language. Really, they even told you a lie that in the beginning was the word, because that lie was told us from the New Testament. If you go to the Old Testament, you'll see that it was the vibration and the sound, and the word was formed after the sound. So basically, the vibration is the real origination of the sound. But they've tricked you to say that every sound they make is what they own. Look at the word crown. The last three letters of the word crown is the word own. So someone who wears the crown cries ownership on the word. So what they've done, they've taken the language from its original base in Kemet. They've crafted their own version in Latin, and we are led to believe that every word that they say in Latin is as it is, because they've created this false Bible where they say in the beginning was the word, and they're basing it on there.
Okay.
Yeah, just want to say something quickly. Jammers, can you big up Cockney Dread, man? Enough respect, King. Can you read out the number of for your book, bro? That people contact you on. Can you do it slowly, because obviously you speak quicker than you realise, brother. So people want to get this book because obviously you're speaking very well, and they want to really see what's in the book. So can you read the number out for the book? People, get ready, get your pens so that you can write the number down. Right, say it slowly, Jammers, and say it twice as well, my brother.
Respect. Right, the book is called Etymology, the Root of Words. Etymology, they tell you, means the history, but etymology of the word etymology means the true word. So etymology, the meaning of words, the roots of words, and the number. Text this number to get your hands on an exclusive copy of the book. The number is 07497 069702. Once again, 07497 069702. For etymology, the roots of words, the origins of script. Thank you.
Okay then.
Yes, I. Greetings. Yeah, man. Dick Gregory was a great man. And you know, you said something important there, Dougie, that we have to ask why the authorities were pressing up on Dick Gregory all the time. Essentially because he had no fear, Dougie. You know, when we met him in 2012, he wasn't afraid of nothing, was he, man?
No.
as we describe him, say in Jamaica, he little but him talawa, man. And I just saw a man who didn't care. Not that he didn't care, of course he cared. But he didn't fear the system or what it could do to him. You know, he got arrested over like 100 times, you know. He didn't care. I'm going to march. I'm going to boycott. I'm going to stand up for my rights. I don't care what you say. You can't, and it's very powerful that you can't impede a man like that who's not afraid of death, Dougie. And that was his stance, man. But the show we did, and I just want to pick up Emma Sirius first of all, who she rang up earlier. This sister, put the volume down a bit, please. Yeah, this sister was an amazing sister as far as I'm concerned. She's the first person to bring Dick Gregory and Paul Mooney to England, yeah? And she done a fabulous job, and I just want to pick up Emma just a bit more. She also was involved in so many great promotions, you know, from the past. Reggae, she was the first one to be involved with bringing Queen Ifrica to England. I think, in fact, the first time Taurus Riley come to England as well, you know, Dougie.
Oh, she was one of the
She was one of the people, yeah, she was part of that promotion, Sirius Promotions, part of BJ and some other people. She was central to that. So she's just got such an amazing track record. And plus the fact she's a beautiful person as well, as we know, Dougie. So, yeah, I want to pick up Emma every single time. But yeah, to bring Paul Mooney and Dick Gregory over to England, and I think actually it's the first time Paul Mooney's been to England, so it was an amazing event. 2012, and you know, I was felt being you both privileged to be backstage, working with the entertainers, making sure everything was running smoothly. You know, so and the performances were fantastic too. Dick Gregory is a great. He's different from Paul Mooney. He's like Leo Muhammad. He tells political humour, but in a very humorous way. And he was absolutely fantastic. And these guys are consummate professionals, man. They don't even need to prepare as such. You know, like the reading books and no, they just relaxed in the dressing rooms before the gig, and they hit it out the park on stage for an hour plus. So Dick Gregory is an amazing guy. He did so much for African people in the 60s. And as I said, you know, his first achievements was to be the first African-American comic to cross over to the white. The commercial side, if you like, the white side, instead of doing just gigs in African people's venues. He was doing them all over. And there is a story about him, what I love about him. He was the first one on a guy called Jack Parr. Jack Parr had a big show back in the 60s. He's the equivalent of Johnny Carson or Letterman nowadays, if you like, Dougie. And Jack Parr, whether it was him or it was the company, what they used to do, they used to have black comics on the show, but they didn't let them sit on the couch. You know, like Jonathan Ross has the couch and everyone's the black comic would be on there, but he wouldn't sit on the couch. So when they're asking Dick Gregory to come on, he's going, I'm not coming on there, man. So after 20 times they ask him, they go, why aren't you coming on? What's up, Dick? He goes, listen, if you're going to bring me on, I'm going to sit on the couch like everybody else. If I'm not sitting on the couch, I'm not coming on. So he was the first black man. Again, this is what I'm saying, he's a number of firsts with this brother. He was the first black man to be sitting on the couch. And he got it from his own way. It wasn't the blessings or the benevolence of the European. It was his determination to get it done. And that's why we have to really admire this brother, you know. Very powerful and very determined.
Yeah, and I'd just like to endorse what Minty said. His character, and I've just luckily I've got the book called The Nigger Word, an autobiography by Nick Gregory with Robert Lipsty.
When did that book come out, Jamus? That was in the 60s, yeah?
I believe it was in the 60s, yeah. I'll soon be able to. Yeah, it's actually 1964. And it's by his own enterprise, Gregory Enterprises. He produced this book, and it just shows how far-sighted and what he would do, what he actually did. And in the first chapter, it talks about his upbringing, and he says he wasn't poor, he was broke. And basically, at a very young age, he learned the art of survival, and that developed his character through like how he was able to put himself forward in all types of scenarios and come up trumps. Because as a youth, he used to be hustling on the street. you know, and he lived on his wits' end, and that sharpened his wits, sharpened his skills, sharpened his way of words. He dealt with so many people, and he was fearless.
Yeah, and you know, he used all them skills, and it got him to where he got to, being the first African American to cross over, comedian to cross over into the commercial side of things, being the first one to be sitting on the couch, black man to be sitting on the couch with Jack Parr. You know, as we said, Hugh Hefner was the one who cited him. He's the last person you're going to be thinking is going to be wanting to promote black man, Hugh Hefner, man. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And what we found is that he took the language that he's a pioneer in the use of the language, like language that we'd see as negative. He was able to converse with the person who gave him the language, using words like the N-word, and just like Bob Marley done with the music, he done with the words, and he could make people laugh at the very and question and look at the way they use the words in a different way, and he was able to, you know, get himself in areas where no other black man would even think of.
Right. Let me just jump in here, because also he appeared on the Alex Jones show. If people are familiar with Alex Jones show?
Yeah, he's like a conspiracy theorist gentleman. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he's been on.
He's a regular on there, actually.
He's a regular on there.
He was a regular.
Okay, then.
Bless his heart.
Yeah, regular on there, and also Greg was a occasional guest on Mark Thompson. This is a channel radio show. I don't know if you're familiar with that. He was a regular guest on there, and you know, he was, you know, these are big events with Black History Month. He was mainly the main speaker, and speaking to the students, most about injustice, you know. So, you know, the thing is that, you know, if we had to go through Dick Gregory's personal CV, we'd be here, you know, all days and days. And also, he was a close friend with people like Bill Crosby, Henry P. Newton, Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson talks about him. Martin Luther King. He was very close to these individuals. Also, I mean, I remember when this is a joke I'm going to tell you, right? Well, it's not even a joke still, but when I was told Africa about Dick Gregory, because I always ask Lil Africa and he's happy about Dick Gregory, and he said that he had to kick him out of his class, you know, because he keeps clowning around and making people laugh. But it's only because his wife said to him, you know, make him stay, you know what I mean? You know, so, you know, because he's just one of them typical, you know when you're in school and, you know, you have children messing about and one of them just make you laugh. I can imagine him, he never changed, just clowning away, making you laugh. And so when that's Dick Gregory, he had that, as Minty said earlier on, that humor, that child humor he had inside of him, you know, and it's never really gone away, you know. And again, I mentioned earlier on, he spoke at the funeral of James Brown funeral, you know. So this is a man who, as I said, was a legend of legend, you know. So we're talking about this great man, Dick Gregory, and this show is dedicated to Dick Gregory, you know. And I said that is to join the ancestors. And so, anybody wants to phone in, feel free to phone in and reason with us. Anything you want to share, want to bring to the table, please do that, you know.
And I'd just like to jump in, and what I think I found by reading his book, the word nigger, why he used that word, and basically, and plus I'll give you a little excerpt from the book. Richard Claxton Gregory was born on Columbus Day, 1932. A welfare case. You've seen him on every street corner in America. You knew that he had rhythm by the way he snapped his cloth while he shined your shoes. Happy little black boy. The way he grinned and picked your quarter out of the air. Then he ran off and bought himself a twinkle cupcake and a bottle of Pepsi Cola and a pocket full of caramels. You didn't know that was his dinner, and you never followed him home. The story of Dick Gregory, a welfare case, star athlete, hit comedian, and frontline participant in the battle for civil rights. He grew up in St. Louis, so poor that home was a place to go only when all the other places were closed. In high school, college, he became a record-breaking track star. Early in his life, he had learned to fight back with jokes rather than with his fists. And when the chance came to work as an entertainer, he took it. After a long struggle to gain recognition, he got his break. Chicago Playboy Club, The Jack Parr Show, national reviews. Success followed as one of the nation's top comedians. But Dick Gregory was not content with success. The battle for civil rights was on, and he had to be part of it. He says, I was scared to death, making speeches, giving money, even going down south for a night or two at a time. But that was one thing. But getting out on those streets and marching against bullets and dogs, water hoses and cattle prods, my own life started spinning around and my stomach started turning over.
Okay.
But just one more thing is that Dick Gregory, this is why he used this word in the book. He was ready to change the system. He wanted to be known as a first-class citizen. And he wanted to change a system where a white man could destroy a black man with a single word, nigger. So this is where he picked up the language and used it as a weapon.
Okay. Also, it's very important to mention that in the mid-80s, Dick Gregory was one of the figurehead in the old health food industry by advocating for raw fruits and vegetables diet. Right, he wrote several introduction books to written some books about health books, and also it's important to understand that he used to fast up to something like 50 days, extreme fasting.
More Dougie.
More than that.
Because before in 2012, it was 2011, and he was talking about 2010 it was actually, and he was talking about 911, and he goes, I'm gonna fast until my 80th birthday, which was in 2012, Dougie. So he was fasting on them same juices you said that he made, the Bahamian juices and the Caribbean juices, which is and you're right, Dougie, it was the Ethiopian government in 1985 that picked up, adopted Gregory's formula to combat malnutrition in Ethiopia, which was the time when they were doing that, Live Aid song. So he was the man. He wasn't just a comedian, an activist, and a trailblazer. He was a great businessman as well.
Oh yeah, very great businessman.
Fantastic. He actually had the club, one of the first black men to have a club. In 1958.
1958.
Yeah,
Imagine that, man.
Yeah.
1958. And also, he influenced Prince, because I think he had quite a lot of Prince had quite a lot of conversation with him. And Prince afterwards becoming more and more conscious, and I think from I get to understand that Prince saw a lot of Dick Gregory stuff online and talking about the chemtrails and all that stuff there, and that's when Prince started to become more conscious, more aware, and listen to Dick Gregory, So, and also, it's on record. I played the recording, and it's been said that he was good friend with Michael Jackson. A very good friend, yeah.
Whole heap of people, Michael Jackson, because on the day past, people post lots of stuff on WhatsApp. Michael Jackson, Muhammad Ali, James Brown, Sidney Poitier, basically every top entertainer in the 60s and the 70s who was of African descent. So he was very well respected, very well liked, very talented, and I think that he was connecting to people who had no fear. Because when you think about all these people, Michael Jackson, Prince, musically they were fearless. That's why they were so talented. Muhammad Ali, we know, was fearless. Sidney Poitier had to be fearless to do what he did. You know what I'm saying? So all these, even Malcolm X, he was very much got on very well with Malcolm X.
No, but on the recording again, he said that before the day Malcolm X got shot, right? He spoke to Malcolm. Well, Malcolm rang him, asked him to come to the meeting, and Dick said to him, "Listen, I'm not getting the pleasure for shooting two of us for the price of one," something like that. He said to him, right? Because he knew, right?
Yeah.
And he said that where Dick was performing, he said to his wife, "Book me into a hotel, right? Because you don't want to feel weak. You have to go and see Malcolm." And I think that same evening he got a letter from somebody said that Malcolm got killed. Shot and killed and everything. But they were very, very good friends. He had enough conversation with Malcolm.
Malcolm, yeah.
Yeah.
These men were fearless, Dougie, when you think about it. So I guess that vibes attract vibes, isn't it? Like attracts like. And that's why it was a beautiful thing to see all these powerful brothers coming together, and Dick was kind of central to them all coming together in a sense, and being recognizing the oneness they have. So I mean, the more we delve into his life, the more we see what a great, fantastic person he was, and an amazing. He was amazing at a number of things. He wasn't just good at one thing. And
also, it mentioned earlier on that he was an athlete. He was a middle distance runner, and he got a scholarship for running. James, you want to say anything?
Yeah, and as just endorse what both of you have been saying as well, they were at the forefront of the battle. This is why we know about them. Now we speak of these people, but the only reason we think just by speaking of them is our way to success. But we have to reason it's the actions that they participated in that are making us talk about them now. So we need to look at the actions, and just looking from some experts of the book where now he's up against the police, and the police are trying to call him names, and he's calling them the same names back, and he's done it with humor, because someone's called him a nigger. He says, "No, you're the nigger." Then the police goes to him, "You're a black monkey," but he goes, "Excuse me, monkeys have got blue eyes, thin lips, and straight hair." So he was not doing it from a distance; he was doing it to their face.
And as you say, bro, he was hilarious with it. And I mean, I told the story about him going into the food shop and talking about. He goes, the white man, when he went to the shop in the times of segregation, the white man said to him, "We don't serve colours in here." And he goes, "Well," Dick said, "I don't eat them, so can I have a whole chicken, please?" So some white boys come into him after that, and he goes, "Whatever you do to that chicken, we're going to do to you, boy." So he kissed the chicken. He goes, "Line up, boys."
Also, let people know about the event was taking place on the 6th of October. I better mention that quickly now, that we're hosting an event with Shazam, and the theme is the Kings and Queens, and that's taking place at the Chestnut Community Centre. And we do have some individuals from the States who will be talking about everything about relationship, and I'll be taking it to another level. 6th of October, the 6th of October. Time is from 6 to 8:30 at the Chestnut Community Centre. The tickets are only £5. There'll be more on the door. Okay. So, please phone in and interact with us and give us your thoughts. We're trying to encourage more people to ring in, and if you know about Dick Gregory, let's your thought. Let's get a little reasoning going, interact. Because as you know that Dick Gregory is we can't even find words. It's absolutely a legend. Oops, we've got someone trying to call in upon us. Hello, greetings.
Hi, can you hear me?
Okay, no, it's my fault. I kind of dropped the phone. So, let people know your name, please.
Sister Grace.
Sister Grace. I did tell her Sister Grace will be phoning in. Well, Sister Grace, I know that you follow the works of Dick Gregory. I know you've talked about him a couple of times, and we've been spending the last quite a few hours just touching on Dick Gregory. on his journey and his impact he had on the world, the whole world, you know what I mean? And, it's going to be surely missed but never forgotten in terms of his contribution and, the works what he's done. So, what is it you want to bring to the table, Sister Grace?
Well, all right. Like you said, they need to go onto YouTube. Most importantly, people need to go onto YouTube and, as you say, put in his name, Gregory, and listen to his talks and how he informs people about different things that took place or that have taken place that the media covers it as it being, like a natural death or overdose and all the rest of it. And he talks about the background stories of lives of people, famous people that we know, that have been when you shoot somebody, assassinated. Okay.
Yeah.
But they try to cover it up. And then when you listen to his talks and how he breaks things down to how, originally when he started off charging people $5 to come and see him. I'm going back before coming forward.
Yeah,
because
that's right.
Then he started off in, the church. So I don't know if you had covered that already. But where we used to congregate and meet was in the churches, because that way we can congregate and meet. So he used to do his singing and his comedian part through meeting in the churches. And he always made sure that people could afford to come and see him and listen to what he was performing. And then from there, he just built up and built up. So in other words, what he did, instead of him just coming out and exploding, he was a work in progress continuously, as in he worked himself up into that position as to where he is today. So it wasn't, as Buja Banton said, it wasn't an easy road. He took time and took in that knowledge and information and began to understand the different motives and how people operate. So in that sense, that's where I'm coming from, because he's done so much work, whether it be on your health, whether it be on, Illuminati, our race, the effects of our people. He talks about even when you have children and you put them to sleep, in the direction in which you should place their heads, because if you place their heads in directions which isn't suitable for us, then it just mucks up the brain cells and all the rest of it. And the reason for the curly hair is because of the energy from the sun. That if our hair, because we are from the sun part of the world, if our hair was straight, then the sun will be able to go direct. The energies from the sun will actually be going direct into the scalp and the hair and everything, which would really mess it up. And hence, that's why our hair is spiral, so that with the sun, it takes time for it to reach our scalp. And it talks about so many different areas, and that's why I say it's important. And I've always said this: it's very important that when we've got people like the Gregory, and there's a whole host of them out there, that we actually acknowledge them, listen to their teachings, and so that we can have a greater understanding. Because when you're listening to them, even if you're pottering around your house or wherever, in the garden or whatever, and you've got your phone and you put in their name and you listen to the information, being enlightened continuously, you're learning something that you didn't know about yourself, or maybe you did know about yourself, but because it's been so long, you're just reinforcing that energy and the power of words, which is a lot to do with supporting ourselves and being able to move forward. But I know he talks that we need that we should really take things lightly or for granted in that sense, and that's the message I was getting from listening to, you know, his talks and his speeches.
Okay then, but the thing is this, that it's a good thing you're able to reason with us, you know, and share some information, right? Because as you said, that there's so much Digger's talked about, you know. He's talked on so many different areas, you know, everything. I mean, if you talk about health, you know, I remember, I'll never forget, he talked about the whole thing about the water. You know, it's got a whole thing about water, and he was saying that if you got a serious health challenge, one thing you should be doing is drink coconut water for about, I don't know, 20 or 30 days, and you probably find that at least 8 or 9% that health challenge you have will totally, you know. Because one thing he was saying that the coconut water is so powerful, you know what I mean? That's the thing what purifies the heart, or, you know, it's got that life in it. You know, he's got an intellect of information. It's like a computer. He just, you know, he doesn't want, you know, he can't stop him. You know what I mean? And etc. You know, and one of the questions I asked him earlier on is the other thing, relationship we had with Michael Jackson. You know, when I interviewed him. And he knows Michael quite well. He was saying.
He knew him quite well, and even he was saying when he was talking about Michael Jackson, I think it was Michael Jackson he refers to as his son, and I stand corrected in case they had murdered his son as well. But when he talks to, I assumed he was talking about his son being Michael Jackson. Okay? And he was talking about them, that they used some radio something that had these pricks, that put these pricks in his arm that actually killed him, and he knew that they were going to do that to him anyway. And he told them that he needed to be hydrated. Obviously, that is to be drinking water. That will help to wash out and flush out his system. But in some ways it was just too late for him. So it was that the Caucasian people, like with Bill Cosby, Michael Jordan, is it Michael Jordan? I think it's Michael Jordan, some Jordan, and Prince, and quite a few of them. Because they were doing what they were doing, they felt that in all their cases, that as them being black brothers, what they were about to do, they couldn't allow that to happen. And this is where we realize that these people are continuously holding on, or desperately scrambling to hold on to their position in being Caucasian, and not wanting the melanin race to come to the forefront. So they know that they're, you know, that they are losing powers, and it's important for us to understand what we need to be doing, what should be done, how we can go about it, how we can go about strengthening ourselves so that we can move forward, because it's their greatest fear that we will rise and be above them again, and they can't tolerate that. So they will be doing anything that is needed to keep themselves in that upward position. When he talks about Michael Jackson with him being poisoned and drinking the water, and he was there with, you know, in his last days before he passed, that even his parents couldn't believe that this was happening to their child or whoever it is, the figures that be would want to do that to this person. But because of the amount of money that he had made, and even he mentioned that the children's birth certificates. Well, obviously, what comes to mind, when you're doing birth certificates for your children and they're doing their names, you will check the spelling of their names. Now, Dick Gregory says that when they were writing the will of his, for Michael Jackson, the so-called will that's supposed to be the will, that they had written the kids' names, kids' names were spelt wrong. Well, no parent is going to, a legal document, have, you know, the people who, the survivors, their names written wrong. And that's one of the signs that Dick Gregory says, or part of what he says, that, you know, he wouldn't have, as a father, knowing him, he wouldn't have accepted that the spelling of their names be the way that it was done.
That's quite interesting. You know, we just bring to the table. Not many people, well, have really picked up. Because I definitely know that. That's very interesting. That's very interesting. You know. Okay, just in the house we do have Ras Minty, and also we do have jams inside the house as well.
You mean you have those two brothers sitting down there? I haven't heard them open their mouth.
No, they're just listening to what you're saying. You know what I mean? So we don't want to just jump in all over the place. You know, we want to listen in an intelligent manner, and then we can interact. Right?
Yes, give thanks, Dougie. Yes, greetings, Grace.
Greetings, brother.
How are you doing, my sister?
Oh, I'm blessed. I'm well. No, I'm blessed. I'm well, thank you.
Yeah, man. We're not blessed because we'd be less. We're blessed. Yeah.
I know. That's what
I could hear yourself correcting yourself. But I'd like to just thank you for your input, because you've said some interesting stuff, because he's got so many strings to his bow, Dick Gregory, man. He was a multi-talented man. And it's about, like, you know, the stuff you talk about on your show, which is about bringing out your greatness, basically, and that's exactly what he did. And it's only in his passing that we see what a fulfilled life he lived, and what an amazing person he was, and how many amazing people he knew. So you know, you did the stuff you're saying about Michael Jackson, the name and all that. He was well on it. He was also well on the conspiracy as well. The 911. He was one of the first ones, as we mentioned the Alex Jones show before, Dougie, to talk about the conspiracy angle about 911 and how suspicious it looked, and how the government, what the government tell us, same with Lee Harvey Oswald and JFK shooting, was not officially what happened. So this man was just on it, basically. It wasn't just those things, the conspiracy. He was also fighting for women's rights as well.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's fact. I've got some information there talking about the women's right. Yeah, absolutely right. What Ras Minty is saying, you know. So I mean, you know, I tell you something, right? You can't even take a breath, and because there's so much he's done. You see what I'm saying? You know, and in fact, how he got from comedy, if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to check it out in a second, that when he was in the military army,
He was busting jokes on winning competition.
In the army.
And out the army as well.
Yeah, very talented, you know what I mean? You know, so you do someone, you know what I mean, who is extremely talented, extremely gifted, and you want to give so much to the but you know, it'd be interesting is to find out a bit more about his children, you know, 'cause I did ask Dr. Harris about his children. I never asked him tonight. I asked him yesterday. I think I might have asked him yesterday about his children, and again, I think a couple of them are into entertainment. One was a dancer or something like that, and you know, But yeah. So, Minty, you wanted to ride in something?
Yeah, no, I'm, you know, as you said, Dougie, we could be here all night waxing lyrical about this brother and the many talents that he had and the kind of steel he had against the system and the determination he had for his life. And it reminds me something of what Les Brown says, which I know you, Dougie, and both of you, Grace, can relate to. It's about hitting one thing. Which is what he did. He got his breakthrough being a comedian. Then he got into the civil rights. Then he got into the food. Then he got into the business through the comedy. So this is a lesson for us all. Again, his life and passion. Sometimes we get the greatest lessons. That his life, he focused on one thing until he got it right, and that's what brought all his other success.
That's a good point there. A good point. And that's why it's important to focus on one thing, because once you got that right, other things will come into play, you know. Because it's amazing that I myself get to know about Dick Gregory through the health when he had a book out. I can't remember the book, but he had a book out, and that's when the name. This was in the 80s. He had a book out and talking about health and this and that, but then time I wasn't into health. I didn't know knowledge of health, whatever. I just knew about this book, what people was talking about, this man called Dick Gregory. And then next thing I know that, you know, the man's a comedian. So this man's a comedian, and the book was talking about, you know, some serious hardcore health thing we're talking about. Then again, I understand he was a comedian. I understand he was here in the early 50s or 60s, and to be honest with you, I didn't pay much attention, but his name was always bouncing around the place, you know, always as a community activist. And then it's only years gone by, in 2000 now, and you know, many people at Dr. Late Africa, you get to know a bit more about Dick Gregory and speak to Queen Afua. And Queen Afua said this, you know, I asked about Dick Gregory. She said that when she first met Dick Gregory, right, it was like she was kind of shy, you know what I mean? You know, she couldn't even look into him because this is a man who is a giant. And he said to her, "What is it, my child?" And she couldn't even look him in the face, you know what I mean? And Queen Afua is a powerful woman, you know what I mean? And so forth, you know. So, you know, he had an impact. He had a mark on the world. I encourage people, as we're speaking right now, go online and type in Dick Gregory. Because people might say, well, what you want a man about talk about? Who's this man, Dick Gregory? Just go online. You know, just go online and type in Dick Gregory, because there's so much information about Dick Gregory. See? Yeah, go on.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what?
Go on, Grace.
Dick Gregory, he even talked about, when, you know, we talk about illnesses and what causes illnesses and all the rest of it. And you were talking about how it's healthy. And he was saying that, all right, we, as a race, we melanated skin people, our kidneys, our liver, and our lungs, and our heart. Now, why would we be affected by it? Well, obviously, when you think about your kidneys, if you were in fear for your life continuously all the time, that will have an effect on your kidney.
It's true.
Okay.
It's true.
Likewise with your heart,
Mm-hmm.
with the continuous fear of your kidneys and organs, it will have an effect. You will have heart disease and all the rest of it. And when you think about what he says and with the different organs in relation to the body, and if you were to change some of the things that cause the illnesses within the organs, okay, that if we spoke about, let's say we spoke about the heart, and no, let's talk about the liver, which is anger, rage, depression, and grief. And then instead of those reactions that were happening within the body that caused the organ to be failing, and you changed it round, and it was more of a balance of laughter, love, coolness, kindness, and all the rest of it. Would we think that from all those things that are happening within our body that we just needed to change our thoughts, our mindset, and what we felt or what we thought about other people, that would make a change and have an impact on our lives? In other words, on our kidneys and liver and heart, rest of it. We wouldn't think of it like that, but he breaks it down that by having the fear of these people who feel the need to put added pressures upon this particular race causes the anxiety, the anguish, the upset within the body, so it imbalances the body and what needs to be there by trying to balance the body from it being very acidic and however to it being neutral and calm and cool and loving and all the rest of it. It's just amazing that this is there and it's online and it's on hand to any and everybody who chooses to take the time to sit down and listen, take note, and you'll be amazed at the difference that and the impact it will have on many of us.
Well, I tell you something, right? And I'm going to put that to people right now, right? As an exercise, for next 30 days, right? At least for about an hour, every day, for 30 days, listen to Dick Gregory. He's got so many subjects, you know what I mean? For 30 days, you know, your life will never be the same. You know, your life will never be the same.
But Dougie, can I just come in here? Even though, you see, the thing is, what we need to remember, we may say, because we've listened to this person, okay, to Dick Gregory, not this person, respect, to Dick Gregory, alright? But if you're going to sit down and listen and do nothing, then it's not going to, you know, people say, well, I sat down and I've watched it for 30 days and nothing has happened. And the difference is, even though you may sit and watch it for 30 days and expecting something to happen, the only thing that will happen is nothing unless you take action in the information and the knowledge which you have gained by listening to him and putting it in place.
All right. No, what I would say is that those who don't listen to any kind of motivational or inspirational, the chance is to get them to start to listen, because once you start to listen, it's like a paradigm shift, because you will shift something. I can't say we take action straight away, you know, because, you know, but what it will do, you start a conversation, you start talking to people. I didn't know about Dick Gregory. Dick Gregory said about this and that. You're starting something, you know. You are starting something, and then with that now, that kind of spark starting something, people might start going to events and meet other people, and it is a process, because I mean, we're going to start to do what? You know what I mean? Start a revolution. You know, I mean, you know, it is a process. It is a process. I mean, Minty, do you want to jump in there, Minty?
No, I'm co-signing everything you're saying, Dougie, man, and you know, no, I'm just here all ears, man. So, you know.
Yeah. So what I say is that it's a start. It's a process. So if we could get people to start to listen to Dick Gregory, and from to listen to Dick Gregory, they'll probably listen to people like Uma Johnson, you know, and some other Gregs out there, you know, because if you like it or not, still a lot of people don't know about Uma Johnson, you know, Uma Johnson.
But see, Dougie, all right, we can listen to the Uma Johnson and all the rest of it for those who know, but for those who don't know or don't know that they can listen to these people, then it's for people like yourself, Brother Minty, Jammers, and, you know, other brothers that are out there that are very much in touch and aware of these other people. And in how we listen and understand that meaning, and then because we're here in the now and we're more touchable than some of those people that, you know, we may call upon of a higher level of education, studied, whichever field they studied. And then it's for us, because for us who listen and all the rest of it, then we can actually break it down and pass it on to others who aren't aware of all these other people, but their contact is to these other people through yourself and Brother Minty and Jammers and Buzzy B and everybody else. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Sir Minty, you want to?
Yeah, no, I'm just. I mean, I agree with what you've both said. I mean, you're saying, Dougie, it's a process, and I mean, Grace is saying the same thing. Whether it's you look for yourself and start with Dick Gregory, or whether we give them a guidance and say, look here, like Umar Johnson, as Grace is saying. And you're right. I mean, to be fair, I'd heard about SETI, but I didn't really listen to him because he used a lot of bad language. But it was only since the thing that happened with him and SETI Dougie that I then got to know about Polite, Sarnetta, Pharaoh, all these other people. So what you're both saying is absolutely right. We have to share the knowledge about these great people who speak well, like Dick Gregory, who have done a lot of great things, because we could inspire one person out there to be a new Dick Gregory, but obviously no one could be like Dick Gregory. But to, you know, improve on what Dick Gregory's done, which is, and we've got all the skills and tools to do that. So I think, but you know, the radio with you as well, on your show as well, you know, Grace, man, the importance of the radio and these mediums we have as Africans, we've got to use them positively, and that's why we have to big up man like Dick Gregory and Paul Mooney to an extent, because every gift he had, he used it positively.
Very positively. That's
he
the
used
key.
It positively, Grace.
That's the key thing. Use it very positive, and you know, it reminds me of people like Muhammad Ali. You know, I mean, who was a giant in the 60s and 70s. You know, just talk the thing. You know, I mean, was straight. You know. You know,
Malcolm X too.
Malcolm X and these people, you know,
very outspoken
and very clear, give a clear direction, you know, and talk to the grassroots, you know. And you see, as we were mentioning that, you know, we have people like Umar Johnson, who was very articulate to me.
Yeah.
You know, he gives you clarity. You know, you have people about Polite. I mean, when I say about Polite, personally speaking, he's maturing now. You know, I'm not a great fan of it at first, but he's maturing now. He understand where he's coming from as well. You know, and some of these other people out there, but he's definitely maturing and he's very intelligent. You can't take that away from him, you know. But he's maturing and so forth. But I mean, if people can list these individuals out there, because they do have a lot to offer, you know. And, you know, like I said, you know, you will shift your consciousness, you see, because I mean, let's be real, but you know, some people not interested in some of these stuff that we're talking about. They might hear and say, it's a bit boring and it's a long thing, and you know, the people are saying, they give the same argument, that's all we do is talk, but say to that same individual, all right then, come to a meeting and let's do something, you know, they can't be bothered, you know. So, you know, they kind of shot themselves in the foot, because are they really serious, you know? But then again, that's how it goes, you know, and so forth. But that's why you need to see the value of program like this, you know, where we constantly, every week, pushing consciousness, pushing the reasoning, and behind that we're putting on events, and there's events happening all over the place as well. I mean, obviously I'm not saying people can go to all the events all over the place, you know what I mean, but at least go there and make a conscious effort to support it, you know.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's you have, you know, for those who are listening, they have choices. They have choices of conscious radio, because I was listening to Brother Minty earlier, and you know, now it's you I'm listening to, and after you, it's going to my bed. But still, you just sort of think, you know, it's nice that you can tune in, and it's not only, I can go on the FM dial. We use our phones to sit down there and not interact with other human beings. So why not use our phone if we're not going to interact with other human beings? Then use the phone as a means of listening to these informative stations that are around that have people have taken time out of their lives, okay, to sit down, put information together, to invite people onto their shows, to get people together so that they can be thinking and listening. You're not encroaching on any of their time, in the sense that if you're in your house, then all you have to do is go to your phone, go on TuneIn, find SLR, Conscious Radio, Slam Radio, Amiga and all the other stations. Put them in, and you know that their talk shows are at this time, and this time, on this date, and whichever day. And that way you're consuming consuming the information and the knowledge which they all have to offer, which if you didn't want to go onto YouTube and do the research yourself. And that's why I say we have to give hats off to the brothers and the sisters who have gone and done the studying and the research that is needed to compile all the information that's out there, put it together for us to have a better, greater understanding of what is needed, so that we can now move forward. But if you're not even going to do that, are you then saying that you would like me to come to your house and spoon feed you? Because if you're going to wait for that to happen, you're going to sit down there and starve. And if you have to feed the stomach, remember you have to feed the mind. And
it's true.
They all
true.
go hand in hand together.
hand.
And this is what we need to realize. There's no point putting food in the stomach, but you're not feeding the brain, and you're not feeding yourself spiritually, and you're not feeding yourself any other way. Yeah.
But let me just throw the boat out here, because and the reason I want to do that, because Minty did mention about Uma Johnson and Polite, right, and these other individuals out there, right. And the reason why I want to, because you remember the reasoning between Uma Johnson and SETI, right? And you know that it was a big thing, big thing. But what's good about it, right? Because you got to flip it round. At least people were talking and sensibly putting things together. You know what I mean? Mature people. You know what I mean? Right? And obviously, Minty interviewed SETI. And if you look at SETI, you feel so. What was the same man who on the DVD being them kind of madness, you know what I mean? But he would see him kind of humble himself like a mouse, you know what I mean?
But what do you mean? You interviewed him too?
Yeah, but I mean, it's like a little just humble himself, right? And
we did kind of tell him before,
and all that stuff,
yeah,
right?
Of course.
But it's interesting that because as much I rate Uma, I do rate Uma, right, in terms of what he has to say, but there's another side of him, right, where he needs to work on, you know what I mean? Because, it's simple as that. But what's interesting, right, and I'm glad we could talk this conversation on the radio, that in a way it kind of plug in more people. We're going to talk about it and kind of track certain people, yeah. I just want to bring it to the mix because that was a interesting blow up between those two there. You know what I mean? It was totally, Uma was totally off the rails. You know what I mean? I'm just kind of got himself worked up and go on certain things. You know what I mean? Right? But at least, as Minty said, that you kind of get to know a bit more SETI and these other people that was out there. You see what I'm saying? So anyway, it worked in favor. But what we noticed, right, from if we had to observe and look at this thing there, some of these people look at this thing as a gang thing, as something they do on the street, you know what I mean? So when they interact with other people, who you think you are? You got this big ego about you. So when I see I'm gonna beat up your bros, in fact I'm not gonna beat her, I might fling a shot after you. Them look to full talk, you know what I mean? And word ego, you know what I mean? Same way they run on the street, same when they're doing conscious. And we don't want that. We don't entertain them kind of behavior there. But I want to bring Minty and Grace into what I just said there.
The field for me of who was in the new conscious movement, so to speak, Dougie. Like I said, I discovered Polite and Pharaoh, Sarnet TV, and various other people, Brother Reggie, different people, through just that clash. So I think that it's like the rap clashes where we had Nas against Jay-Z. People show more of an interest in rap. The eyes are on rap. It's what Kendrick Lamar said when you talk about the King of New York, and all these New York rappers are losing their minds. He's from LA, Dougie, for goodness sakes. He said he's the King of New York, the home of rap. So we shook things up. So when Seti and I don't think they necessarily did that, but it seemed like a rap battle. They were shaking things up. And as you said, Dougie, Umar Johnson come out of his skin, man. So that kind of, people who knew him and people who didn't know him were probably shocked at just the way he expressed himself, really, even if you didn't know him. The way he was acting in that, he seemed a bit off key there, man. So Seti shook him up. But I just think that that's good, because we're going to take the positive out of the negative, and it opens up the field. People are discussing about it. It's in the ether there. So what it does, like what it did for me, it opens up other conscious people, and you're doing a bit more research and hearing more interesting words sound beyond those two cussing each other.
But I just want to jump in, because in fact, Grace, what you're saying, you know, and I'm thinking about what you said now, based on what Minty was saying, right? Your point is quite valid when I'm going to start really reflect on what you're saying now. But the reason why I said I had a different spin on it now, because that, right? Well, look, I'm just getting a little spin, really, right? That what you have, right, in a conscious and rap and reggae and all that stuff there, ego. Ego, right? And listen to me carefully, that you need a certain amount of ego, right? But it has to be in check. It has to be in balance. You have to, you just have to know, because you do need a certain amount of ego, especially, you're in this, you're competing, but not use the word compete in the conscious thing, but, but you're trying to assert yourself. That's the right word. Assert yourself, in a kind of certainty. And you command that kind of confidence, and you want people to respect you. You could have a certain kind of ego about you, right? But where it's damaged now, when you start to impose your ego around other people, and you feel so, well, nobody can't test me. You know what I mean? And as Minty just said, that you see that a lot of the in the rap, what is pure foolishness, stupidness, right? If it does, it's a showmanship to say, well, already trying to get more people to, I can understand that. But it's thing when you impose and say, well, that man I can't test me, and if he test me, I'm gonna do him something, and what example are you setting for younger people coming up? You see? So that is why, people should know their place, because you have people who is here before you, lay down the foundation. All you have to do is just respect the thing, right? Yeah, respect the foundation. Listen, let me give a joke, right? Minty and Grace, right? I watched something about rap music some time ago, right? I think it was the beginning of rap music, something about rap music. And one of the things, I can't remember who was on it, right? Said that we should respect the elders, right? Because if it weren't for them, we wouldn't do what we're doing right now, right? Busta Rhymes was on there, right? You hear me? Elders, what is that for? What was that for? I don't want nothing to do with the elders then. I said to myself, I couldn't believe it. People looked at him and said, well, that is madness. You wouldn't be doing what you're doing right now, work for the elders in the rap music. Right? He just went to a tangent. Right? Those kind of behavior we don't respect at all. See? We don't respect that at all. That means that you don't respect the elders at all. If it weren't for them, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing right now. I mean, come on, man. You see what I'm saying? So I mean, these things, we need to seriously put these things into check. You know, and that's where again elders now, right? You know, we're trying to lay down the foundation and be an example and everything. You know, so that they don't make the same mistake or they have something to leap on, right? And you know, imagine this man said, "Well, elders." I mean, come on, man. You see what I'm saying? You know.
But you see, with laying down foundations, you have in anything and everything you've got to have foundation, and it's what you put on top of those foundations. So yes, they might have started something, and everybody has a particular time for them to be there, or in laying your foundation. And then it's the next man's turn to lay and to build on top of it. But once the foundation is solid enough to withstand and hold what you're putting on top of it, that's what's important. So yeah, there are going to be, and remember, there are going to be changes, because when you think like what was happening in 2000 and what was happening in 2017, if certain things within certain families weren't held in place, then the whole system would fall apart. I mean, it's just like we take, and I don't want to stray too much, we have the royal family that have their foundations as an example that we can all understand. Their foundations have been set for whenever they became, we have the monarch that's here. And on top of those foundations, as you can see, years upon years, when it's that person's turn to build on that bit of land or do what they need to do, they come, they respect and they honour, obviously, their ancestors and forefathers and all the rest of it. And then they start building on top of that, and it goes on, and it leads on for the next generation.
That's right.
Now, don't forget, for us, our foundations have been destroyed, have been hidden, have been taken away from us, because they know that if we understand the fundamentals or the foundation about our foundations a lot more, they'll be challenged and questioned so many times they wouldn't know what to do themselves. So we have to respect that we have got foundations, and they are solid enough to withstand any storm or any hurricane that's going to be coming through. But we need to understand that continuously we need new blood, new generations coming in, but they need to understand that you don't disrespect the elders. They are there because they had set that platform for you to be able to come and stand on it. And then you just move on. It's now your turn, and now whoever, and after your turn it becomes somebody else. Life is a continuous thing. If the earth stops twisting now, what will happen? We'll all fall off it, or we'll float up and all the rest. Oh well, I've had enough of spinning on this axle all these years, so you know what should I do with myself? Out of sheer respect to how the universe is made up, it will keep on turning regardless what we do, unless we decide to knock it off its axle. So we too have to remember that with our foundations and with our ancestors and all the rest of it, they had done works that put it in place for us to be here now. We acknowledge that, but now in the times in which we're living in, not only our times, but whenever the new generation comes along, there will be changes, and we've always got to look for room for improvement. Now, see, jammers, I know you've got jammers in there and you sit down there quiet, but a question to jammers is, Jammers. Are you awake?
He's out the room, Jammers.
No, he's not. He's not here at the moment.
Yeah, he's on his phone.
No, okay.
Yeah.
He was there. I just thought I hadn't heard him open his mouth.
Yeah, he's not present.
Yeah.
But coming back to what you're saying, because you're absolutely on point here, you know, and you're giving some clarity, and this is the kind of reason we want to hold And again, we want to big up our beautiful sister who's on the line with us. And as I said, if you just tune in, we're talking about the great man, D. Gregory, who was joined the ancestors in the early morning. I think it was Saturday in the early morning, or Sunday. Was it early morning Sunday? Probably.
It was like yesterday. Yeah.
So in the early morning, D. Gregory.
2 days ago.
2 days ago, is joined the ancestors, and those of us who know D. Gregory, if you want to make a contribution, feel free to do that. If you don't, please go online, type in D. Gregory, and trust me, enough information will come up about D. Gregory on all different kind of subject, So we're here just reading our sister and paying our tribute to D. Gregory. And those of us who are in prison right now, listen to the show. Hope you take comfort from this show here, because we don't leave nobody out. You know what I mean? We're a grassroots organization. If you're in prison, we'll work with you. You know what I mean? Whether you're in hospital, you got health challenges, you're listening right now, we'll reach out to you right about now. You're in psychiatry or in a so-called mental institution, we're reaching out to you as well. Hope you take comfort from this show here. So it doesn't matter where you are. If you're on the street right now, you have your phone and you're homeless, we're reaching out to you as well, because our motive is to reach out to the ragamuffin, to the grassroots, and everybody out there, you know what I mean? And D. Gregory, he reached out to everybody.
Right.
See, and we'll follow him. See, and this is the power of this station, and we don't prejudice and leave anybody out. See, So we're here to start talk this thing here.
Can I just agree with both of you? Of course, the elders have to be respected. Standard. It's African tradition. I'm not moving away from it. I don't care what anybody says. And anyone disrespects the order, they're going to get checked. That's all it's going to happen.
That's right.
Don't follow any foolishness. Just what Dougie wants to say.
No. I just want to ride on what Minty was saying, that anybody, and also what Gregory said, that anybody who disrespect the elders, they, one or two, we have to.
You have to check them, Dougie, man.
Yeah.
Because it's not about being in the Western society and working according to that. We're Africans and we have to keep our dignity and our nobility. So we're not just disrespecting our people who came before us and set the foundations. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Never. And I just wanted to say about the ego. You mentioned about the ego, Dougie. It's not the ego that's the problem in of itself. It's when you become egotistical. There's the problem. As you said, Dougie, we need ego. Marcus Garvey had a big ego. He used it positively to try and help African people. Malcolm X the same way. I think we've all got a bit of ego, Dougie, me, you, Grace, with radio personalities, but we're using it to try and that ego to help African people, to help our people, to encourage and uplift our people, liberate the minds of African people. So that's what we're using it for, simple. So I'm a bass man, I'm a sound man, so I've got an ego. I want people to see me perform and entertain and whatever, so it's part of it. But the issue is not the ego. I've heard lots of people come and say, the ego. No, it's not the ego. Because everything we have is not working against us, is it, Dougie? That includes our mental capacities as well. They're not here to work against us. They're not here to destroy us. It's how we use them.
It's true.
You know what I mean? So it's being egotistical, which is the problem, not the ego. That's just my view anyway.
Yeah, but we will do a show I think about the ego, because that's quite interesting. Because we need to put that into perspective and really understand what we're talking about, this thing ego, because there are some people in our community who are very egoistic, and I can see with them, because that's them and that's their personality. But when it comes damaging now, right, and it's about them and putting other people down, we can't work with that. If you're egoistic, you want to talk about yourself and you're uplifting the people and stuff, well, we can work with that, but that's you see what I'm saying, right? And but we need to look, because some people have a different spin on that, and that's something I really want to bring to the table, you know.
But check the etymology of ego. Ego just means I in Latin, you know, Dougie.
I in Latin.
I
In Latin.
You understand?
See.
It's the word that's been bastardized, become bastardized. That's what's happened. Like with the word sex, like with I'll just think of the word. But you understand the concept of bastardized, and it's been made into a wicked word. Emotional is another word which has been bastardized. It's been turned into a meaning that there's nothing wrong with being emotional, you know, Dougie. As long as we have emotions of passion, love, joy, enthusiasm, inspiration, those past energies and those emotions we must grasp onto, because that's what you use when you use your imagination to see yourself in that better place. You're using enthusiasm, inspiration, joy, passion. You're feeling these emotions, and that's what takes you to the next level. Your feelings. So it's just the way the ego to me has been bastardized. It gets a bad rap, and I've heard some people talk on various shows about how the ego's bad and the ego, and I don't check for none of that, man. It's not good or bad, it's how it's used.
That's how it's used.
Simple things, man.
Yeah, simple things. And anything you want to bring to the table, my sister?
Oh no, I'm just listening to both of you talking about ego.
What's your spin on it?
As you say, Jammers isn't. Is Jammers back?
No. What's your spin on ego? What do you want to say about ego?
Okay. Ego. Well, all I'm going to say about my ego is that I have a show on Sunday and Wednesday, and I would be very happy if your listeners would come in and listen to my show as well.
Okay. No, I said to you, what is your spin on ego? What do you know about ego?
Dougie, she just showed you about her ego. She's showing off her shelf and bigging up her show, man. That's her ego.
Yeah, you can talk about your show, but what do you know about ego? Do you have a spin on ego?
What's your take on ego, Gracie?
Have you got any spin on it?
What's my spin on ego? Ego.
Well, from your thinking, you probably don't have a spin on ego. Okay, because that's something we want to touch on. We're talking about ego.
I'll have to look into that ego business. Sorry, I'll have to look into it because I don't think I sort of. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I don't know.
No, I'm going to talk about you as an individual. I'm just asking, what do you?
Said my spin.
What is your spin on it? Because you must talk about, have you got an ego? That's not about what I'm trying to say if you got ego, because we probably all got ego, you know, because the ego is really is the governing. Because if you don't have it, there'll be this deficient in you as a human being somehow another, you know what I mean, right? But we all got that, but it's how it's used, you know what I mean. And like Minty said, egoistic, you know, as a different argument now, you see what I'm saying. But I mean, people like Siam, right, who's done a lot of work in that particular area there, it'd be interesting to hear his spin on that. You know, he does talk a lot about that, you know. And there's people like Edison who has a different spin on ego and stuff. So it's good to hear what they have to say about it and so forth, you know. Come back to Dick Gregory. Do you know anything about his family?
No, I don't know. I don't know anything about his family. I mean, I just listen to his recordings whilst I'm maybe cooking or, you know, instead of watching television, I'll just prefer to listen to the likes of Dick Gregory and Les Brown and, you know, all the other brothers that we have on YouTube that talk about empowering, uplifting and all the rest of it. Yeah.
Okay then.
I didn't sort of.
No. Okay, no problem. No.
Anything about
well, that's something. Yeah, we definitely want to. Cause I know he's got 11.
He did speak about his wife, okay. And when he spoke about his wife, when he met his wife, he did say that if he couldn't have her, then he wasn't going to allow anybody else to have her. And I mean, I think they've been together for quite a few years, and he said that he really loved her, and I thought that was actually quite touching. because as much as he's done so much work in all the different areas, his connection, he has a very, very close connection with his wife. So I'm presuming, and this is in my opinion, that if he has that very close attachment, well, he should have anyway, to his wife and how he talks about her, that their children, he would have that same feeling unless they've gone off and done something really out of the box.
Because he has 11 children.
Wow.
He has got 11 children, yeah. So, yeah, he's got a big family, so to speak, you know. So, as you know that.
Well, it shows he loved his wife, and he loved, he loved life. If you didn't love life, then you wouldn't want to create. Well, I shouldn't say that. Some people create it and still don't love life, but.
But put it this way, his name will live on through his children and his grandchildren, you know. So Dick will live on, you know.
Out of one of those 11 children, one of them must, I'm quite sure it's their time now to pick up that baton and walk with it or run with it as they will, but one of them must have some of the attributes which they will have of their father or even their grandfather, because and then want to still move it forward and continue the works of that he had been doing.
Well, yeah, well, time will tell, time will tell, and I do agree with that. I mean, after those children, probably even grandchildren, you can imagine he's got quite a few grandchildren that, there'll be Dick Gregory there just running the baton, you know what I mean? And, I said Dick Gregory's laying the foundation, and, it's just for them to run with it now and just take it to another level, because, he was a genius, an educator, a scientist, biologist, deal with chemistry, deal with all kind of subject matter, and you will find that one of these children or grandchildren will take on a specific subject, and they'll be running with it right now. Just but you wouldn't get to hear about it as we're speaking right now, but they're out there now. Say, yo, my time now for run this thing here now, see? And so the thing said. Okay, my sister, go on, you want to say something?
Well, no, I was just going to say I'm going to leave you all to continue your reading.
All right.
And thank you very much. I've enjoyed myself tremendously, like I always do.
Okay.
Brother Minty, pleasure talking with you.
Enough respect,
fantastic show, though.
Yeah, man, I mean, just round the right people, man. It's a beautiful thing, man. So we're giving thanks for life, man. And you keep up the good works with your show as well, man. You know what I mean, Queen?
Thank you.
It's very good, you and your sister.
It's on Radio 93 FM.
You can tell us the day and date. Don't be too bigging up the station, Just tell us the day and date of your show. Yeah, man. It's on Wednesdays and Sunday mornings. Sorry, Wednesday evening 7 till 9, and Sunday morning 10 till 12. Yeah, man. Enough respect, Queen. Slam Radio. Yeah.
Okay then. So.
Pleasure, Brother Dougie. Thank you, and have a pleasant continue to evening or.
Okay then.
I don't even know what time it is, but still.
It's 20 to 3, man. It's time to go to bed.
All right then. So give thanks, yeah.
Much love, Grace.
Yeah. All right then.
Bless.
Okay then. That was Sister Grace. Reason with us. Okay then. So what we're gonna do now? I'm gonna take one more call. Remember with the burning question now. We'll take one more call, or if not, we're going to put the pin in it because we have really took this subject to town and we were reasoning. And so there's so much you can reason still. You can't just keep going on. People might say, well, there's people that come out some kind of record recorder, They just talk. Look what time it is now, But for now, if we just put the pin in and use our discretion. Okay, then just leave us know to recap. Tonight we're talking about the great man Dick Gregory, who was a legend of legends. I guess that we just kick back and just taking the great man Dick Gregory. See?
Yeah, man. Big up Dick Gregory every
single time. Big up Dick Gregory.
So grateful for his contribution to our liberation. You know, and I hope that somebody who's inspired by Dick will continue his legacy. Maybe one of his children. Could be you. Whoever it is, you know, you will be remembered and honoured and respected. So if you've got it in you to want to make a change your paradigm, the time is now. The time is now for that beautiful change, man. So I'm so honoured to have met him, and you know, the show we did in 2012, Dougie, with the beautiful Emma, was just a fantastic experience, basically. You know, and these are just, you know, some people treat them like the superstars, which they are, but both of them were very down to earth. Dick Gregory was like your uncle, your granddad, if you know what I mean, Dougie. And Paul Mooney was like your big brother. He was very funny, but he was also very serious as well, man. He was I wouldn't say he was a funny dude, because he was funny, but he had his way about him, but not in a bad way. He was a good guy. When we spoke to him, he was always polite and always respectful, but he was a serious dude, Paul Mooney. Don't play with Paul Mooney. So yeah, man, that was a great occasion for us, and it's a great, you know, it's a great addition to the CV as well when people ask what you've been involved in. That's something that we can say, that we were involved in bringing over Dick Gregory and the promotions of Dick Gregory and Paul Mooney in 2012, and it was just such a fantastic experience, man. And like I say, I've got the interview that I did with them, which was on my radio station back in the day. And you know, I'm going to give that to Dougie, and hopefully he can play that on the show maybe one day, or parts of it, certainly. But is there something you're going to touch there, Dougie? You're going to play some more stuff from Dick? Are you going to play some more? Yeah, man. Got me tired.